Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. We are doing the chapter The Crisis of Democratic Order. And in this chapter, we are discussing the situation which was prevailing in the country after the fifth general election, the economic crisis that country was facing, and because of the economic crisis, there was unrest in the common people, and we have seen that students movement started in various parts of the country, and we have discussed about two states, about the students movement of two states, that is Gujarat and Bihar. And we have seen that how the students movement took the political character, and the opposition parties get themselves associated with these movement. And in the latest days we saw that these movements were not confined to a particular area only, like the students movement of Bihar. That movement spread to the whole country, and it was led by the leader Jayaprakash Narayan, and we have seen that he has given a call for march to the parliament, and a very massive rally was organized in Delhi, and in the same during the same time there was another movement, another problem was there, and that was the demand of the railway staff and workers. They were demanding that there should be increase in their salaries and allowances, and they were also demanding improvement in the working condition. But the government was not ready to accept their demand. So we see that the railway workers and employees gave a call for strike, and actually they went for strike in the year 1974. And then we see that other than these developments, what was happening, such a level of protest and unrest was there, strikes were there, gherav were there. So all these things was working against government, and one more development was taking place at that time, and that was conflict with judiciary. There was conflict between the executive and parliament on the one side and judiciary on the other side, and we saw how the government tried to establish supremacy of parliament, and in this regard very historic judgment came. That was the judgment of Keswanand Bharti case in 1973. In this judgment, the Supreme Court ruled that there are some basic features of the constitution which parliament can never change through amendment, or it cannot change those basic structure of the constitution, or by making laws also it cannot change the basic structure. And then we find that this act of judiciary went against the interest of the government, and the government was there to it was just like the government was teaching a lesson to the judiciary by not appointing the senior most judge as the CJI in 1973, when there was the post of CJI was vacant, and the three senior most judges who has given the ruling in the Keswanand Bharti case, they were sidelined, and the fourth senior most judge A.N. Ray was appointed as a Chief Justice of India. So this was an effort by the government to convert judiciary from independent judiciary to committed judiciary. It should be committed towards the vision of the executive and the parliament. So this was done, and in this regard we have seen that there was an election petition against the election of Mrs. Indira Gandhi as MP, and this petition was filed by Raj Narayan, who was a socialist leader, and the ground was that Mrs. Gandhi used the government machinery and the service of government servant in her election campaign, and the judgment came on 12th June 1975, the judgment of the Allahabad High Court, that the allegation that Mrs. Gandhi has used government machinery was true, and on this basis her election was declared invalid. It means that she was no more an MP, and it was a very grave situation, because now she has, in order to remain in the office of Prime Minister, she has to take the membership of any of the houses, and then we see that she has appealed in the Supreme Court, and then Supreme Court on 24th June gave her a partial stay, in which it was said that she is no more an MP. She will be MP. जब तक final verdict नहीं आ जाता है तब तक she will considered as an MP, but she will not be able to participate in the proceedings of the Lok Sabha. And then what happened, that this was the time on 25th June, the next day, there was massive rally organized by this Jayaprakash Narayan, and he gave a call for satyagrah, nationwide satyagrah, and he asked the police, the army, the government officials not to obey the orders of the government. So this kind of situation was prevailing, and under this situation what was done by the government, that it recommended the imposition of President's rule, national emergency. It was the proclamation of national emergency under Article 352 on the basis of internal disturbance. The internal condition of the country was highly disturbed. It was causing law and order problem. Because of law and order problem, the government was not able to work properly and efficiently, and on this basis emergency was proclaimed under Article 352. And then we see the way in which the emergency was proclaimed was highly inappropriate, because the decision was taken unilaterally by the Prime Minister, and she recommended on the night of 25th June 1975 for the imposition of Article 352 to the President. The President accepted the recommendation, and he issued the proclamation. And what we find that there was no cabinet meeting. The cabinet was informed the next day in the morning at 6 a.m. There was a cabinet meeting was held, and in this meeting the cabinet was informed about the decision which was taken by the Prime Minister. So what is the way, the appropriate way, the constitutional way is that there must have been a meeting of cabinet, and the cabinet should have recommended the imposition of a national emergency, but that was not done. Not only this, what we find that after the declaration of emergency, after midnight, what was done, that the electricity to all the newspaper offices were disconnected, so that they could not be able to print the newspaper. And not only this, on the morning of next day, that is 26th June 1975, most of the opposition leaders and workers were arrested. Jayaprakash Narayan was also arrested by the government. So this was in this way the emergency was proclaimed. That was highly controversial. And what were the consequences? We have seen that the consequences were that now all the strikes and protests were declared illegal. Now there cannot be any kind of protest or strike. Then we saw that many workers and leaders of opposition parties were arrested. And not only this, many organizations like RSS and Jamaat-e-Islami, they were banned because it was apprehended that there may be some kind of communal riot or violence can take place. And the most controversial consequence, or the most that kind of impact which affected the life of people in a very great degree, that was the suspension of fundamental rights, including Article 32. Now the people were their fundamental rights were suspended, and they were not allowed to go to the Supreme Court or to the High Court for the remedy. And what we find that the government used preventive detention at a very large scale, and we all have discussed this preventive detention. What is preventive detention? In this preventive detention, what is done? That detention is done. Okay, the police will detain someone, but this detention is not after the commitment of the crime. This detention is preventive, in order to prevent the crime, in order to there is suspicion, there is apprehension that there may be the person may be may cause any kind of threat to the security of the country, and on that apprehension the person can be arrested by the police. Okay, so this is a very important provision, and it should not be used on a large scale. But during emergency, what we find that this preventive detention was used extensively. And what was the purpose of using this preventive detention? The purpose was to arrest the political workers, because there was a political motive behind this. And what we find that not only this preventive detention was used extensively, but one more thing was happened, that the government claimed that the courts, neither the High Court nor the Supreme Court, could entertain the writ of habeas corpus. You have read about this writ in your class 11th book. It's when we were discussing the Article 32. That is the right to constitutional remedy. Our constitution gives us the right to constitutional remedy. It means if anyone, be it the government or any private authority or any government authority, if anyone deprive the person of his or her fundamental right, then the person has the right to go to the court. This is given under Article 32, which is called right to constitutional remedy. And in the absence of this right, what happens that all the rights, other rights become meaningful, because if there is no provision for any remedy, then the rights will be meaningless. So what we find, what happened during emergency, that the government claimed that the courts has no right to entertain a writ of habeas corpus. And this habeas corpus writ is about, it's like someone is detained unlawfully. If he is considering that his arrest is unlawful, then any other person on his behalf or the arrested person himself can report this matter in the court, that this unlawful arrest has been done. And on the reporting of this type of thing, what will be done by the court, that the court will issue this habeas corpus writ. And by issuing the writ, the court orders the custodian, the police officer, to present the arrested person in the court. The literal meaning of this habeas corpus is to have the body. So the court asks the police to bring the arrested person physically in the court, and then in the court it will be decided that the arrest which was done was lawful or unlawful. So it's a very important writ, and by using this writ the unlawful arrest can be prohibited. It's a remedy against unlawful arrest. But during emergency, this it was claimed by the government that the courts could not entertain the habeas corpus writ. No one can report. Anyone can report the arrest that is unlawful in the court, but the court is not allowed to issue the writs. So on the one hand, what was done, that preventive detention was used extensively by the government, and on the other hand, this habeas corpus act was stopped, that the government cannot issue, the court cannot issue the writ. And at that time, what happened, when there was so many arrests were done by the government using preventive detention, so what happened, that arrested political workers, they themselves or someone on their behalf started to file cases in the High Court and Supreme Court seeking this habeas corpus writ. But the government was of the opinion that there is no need to tell the reason or the basis of the arrest to the arrested person. The government is not compelled. The situation was such, the emergency situation was prevailing at that time, and it was the claim of the government that in such situation the government, it is not necessary for the government to inform the arrested person of the reason and grounds of their arrest, for what purpose they have been arrested, for what reasons they have been arrested. There is no need to inform all these things to the arrested person. मतलब arrest किसी भी basis पे हो सकता था, first of all, and after arresting the person, the arrested person has no right to go to the court seeking habeas corpus writ. So at that time, what happened, that there were many high courts who gave judgment that even during the emergency, the court has the right to issue habeas corpus writ. It was the judgment of several high courts, because they were it was the opinion of judiciary, the high courts, that this preventive detention was misused by the government. So in order to stop the misusing, it was very much important that the court must issue the writ. So high courts gave this judgment that even during the emergency, the courts could entertain a writ of habeas corpus. But against these judgments of High Court, the government appealed in the Supreme Court. And in April 1976, the Constitution Bench of the Supreme Court gave the judgment in which it overruled the judgment of the High Court. And it said that whatever government is saying, that the courts have no right to entertain the writ of the habeas corpus, is correct. So this was a highly controversial judgment of the Supreme Court, and this was not expected from the Supreme Court to give judgment against the freedom of the people, against the rights of the people. So this was done by the Supreme Court, and it has a very bad consequence for the common people, because now they were not able to go for habeas corpus writ. And then we see there were other consequences also. So many leaders and workers of opposition political parties were arrested, but all were not arrested. In the first wave, on the morning of 26th June, so many leaders were arrested, but all of them were not arrested. So the leaders who were not arrested in the first wave, they went underground, because they knew that if they will be available, then they will be arrested. So they went underground, and they started organizing protest. They started communicating with each other, and then generated this feeling of protest among themselves. And not only this, we also find that this kind of dissidents and resistance was shown by the newspapers also, because we have seen that one of the consequences was censorship. During emergency, censorship was imposed, and it means that now the newspapers were not free to publish any news item. Before publishing any news item, they have to give approval from the government, and if the government will approve the news item, then only that news item can be published. So this was totally against the freedom of the right to freedom of expression. This was the complete ban on the freedom of press. And we find that many newspapers like Indian Express, Statesman, all these newspapers protested against this censorship by leaving blank spaces. Why they left blank spaces in the newspaper? These blank spaces denoted that there something was to be published at that place, but because of censorship, because the government has not given its approval, now that piece of news is not published. So in protest, they kept that space blank, so that people should know, people should become aware of the censorship, people should become aware of the absence of freedom of press. Now our press is no more free. They are not able to publish the news items they want to publish. They have to take the approval of the government. So these newspapers, Statesman, the Indian Express, they started leaving the blank space. That was a way to show their protest against the government, and that was also an important way to make people aware of the censorship. Not only this, there were many magazines like Seminar, Mainstream. These magazines, they closed down. They chose to close down because they were not ready to submit to censorship. They were not ready to take approval of the government before publishing any news item, and that is why they closed down. Okay, and not only this, we find that many underground newsletters and leaflets also started to publish, just like at the time of freedom movement, when we were under the British rule, and the British also imposed censorship. They curtailed the freedom of the press. And at that time, this kind of underground newsletter and leaflets were published. So in the similar way, at during this emergency period, people also started to publish underground newsletters and leaflets, and in these newsletters and leaflets, they were free to publish anything, but their circulation was very limited, है ना? So all these things were happening. These are the acts of dissent and resistance. Whatever the government was doing during the emergency, whatever consequences we have seen during the emergency, now how the people are reacting. People are reacting by many political leaders went underground, many newspapers left blank space in their newspaper, many magazines closed down, many underground newsletter and leaflets started to be published. So all these were the various methods to show dissents and resistance to emergency. Not only this, we also find that the great people like Phanishwar Nath Renu, who was the Hindi writer, he received Padma Shri award from the government. But during this period, because of the undemocratic acts of the government, such kind of undemocratic activities were done by the government. So in protest, what was done by Phanishwar Nath Renu, that he returned his Padma Shri to the government कि ऐसी गवर्नमेंट से मुझे कोई अवार्ड नहीं चाहिए, जो गवर्नमेंट इतना अनडेमोक्रेटिक काम कर सकती है, उस तरह की गवर्नमेंट से हमें कोई अवार्ड नहीं चाहिए. सो ही रिटर्न्ड Padma Shri, and one Kannada writer was also there, Sivarama Karanth. That Sivarama Karanth, he also returned his Padma Bhushan. And this kind of act was also done during the national movement, when there was Jallianwala Bagh massacre happened. At that time, in protest, Rabindranath Tagore returned the knighthood which was awarded to him by the British Crown. So in the similar way, that type of acts were done by the citizens of the country in order to put pressure on the government, in order to make the government aware of its undemocratic activities, in order to make the people, common people, aware of the unfair acts of the government. So all these were the method which was adopted by the people. But what we find, that such open acts of defiance was very rare. It's not that everyone was against the government. Everyone was showing their dissent. No. The dissent which we have discussed just now, it was done only by very few people. And most of the people were not aware of the actual motive of the government, of the unlawful and undemocratic activities of the government. So this was the situation which was prevailing at that time, and we also find that the parliament was making use of this time by bringing new amendments. We have seen the election of Srimati Indira Gandhi was challenged in Allahabad High Court, and the judgment of Allahabad High Court was that her election was invalid because she used the government machinery. Now one amendment was brought by Parliament, and in this amendment it was provided that the election of the Prime Minister, of the President and of the Vice President could not be challenged in the court. So this was the, we can say it, a kind of dictatorship was there. Everything the government wanted, it was doing. As the Prime Minister suffered because of this judgment of Allahabad High Court, so now there was change in the Constitution. Amendment was done in the Constitution that now onwards election of the Prime Minister, President and Vice President cannot be challenged in the court. So this was these were the consequences. Okay, we will continue our discussion regarding this in the next class.